Hari Om, Hari Om. So let's start another round. I hope you can all hear me. Well, let's start straight away. Is there anybody who would like to start our dialogue? Please come in.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Shridev.
I would like to ask something about Ramana, and I would like to know why he sits after self-realization. Why he sits so long for so many years after his realization?
Well, unfortunately, you can't ask him directly. But why would a being that has realized keep on doing such things? Ramana sitting for years, Nityananda, so the old Nityananda, Muktananda's guru, doing lots and lots of pranayamas. Why would they do so? The question comes out of the idea that a sadhak is doing practices somehow to finally, in order through that practice, achieve self-realization. But actually, it's not quite like that. Self-realization is a moment of grace, and basically it has nothing to do with your practices that you have done on the way. For a sadhak, the practice is mainly as a help to become more aware in the present, as a help to remove the obstacles for self-realization. At the same time, you are concentrating energy, you are harnessing power by doing your practices. And then when a being like Ramana keeps on sitting, then it's not more motivated with an idea that yes, he has to practice and finally he gets out something from it, but it's a natural expression of that being that he just sits. And if a being like Ramana keeps on sitting, something very magical is happening. He has been harnessing loads and loads and loads of power, bringing it down on that level of this world. Of course, that being that appeared as Ramana Maharshi is the first who benefits from it, but then at the same time, everybody else also benefits from it. So it's a great grace that a being like, a great blessing for the world, that a being like Ramana keeps on sitting like that. And we can also see it, we can also feel it, we can experience it, even now. Self-inquiry existed also before Ramana Maharshi. But then, although he was also teaching other things, he has now been made known as the advocator of self-inquiry. And it's like previous, it was a hidden path for a few people who come finally to the point that they are being initiated in self-inquiry. And just through the intensity of his life, and then propagating self-inquiry freely to people, it's like he has made out of a hidden footpath a highway. And lots of people can easily access that highway, can easily practice self-inquiry, can go on that path. They could have done that anyhow, but because Ramana has been here and doing what he has been doing, it has been made so much easier for everybody else. It was a great blessing that he kept on with that intensity sitting. If a being like Ramana just sits like this for hours and hours, then there is an intensity that is happening there that is just radiating. And now it's 70 years since he left his body, and even now he keeps on inspiring people around the globe. And that's an outcome of that intensity of his life that he had here. There are so many self-realized beings, hardly anybody knows about them. They have their job, they do what is right, what in the cosmic picture is necessary. But then a being like Ramana, who never left this place, who just was here, he has done something so tremendous that he's even now world famous in the spiritual scene. And people keep on just connecting with him and getting so much of support and inspiration. And that energy that is doing that is certainly to a large extent the manifestation of that intensity of his sitting that he has done. For 25 years, he just sat like nobody can sit. After that, he was not more sitting silently in meditation, but he kept on sitting on his sofa, having to be there, meditating, not in a meditation posture, but being there, stared at by people the whole day long. So he kept on doing the same work that he did before when he was just sitting deeply absorbed in his meditation. It's not that a being like Ramana sits and thinks, I want to achieve some more thing by meditating, by sitting. That's the sadhak's idea, that we have to meditate, and finally we get the reward for it. But actually, it's never really like that. But it's just spontaneously for a being like Ramana that was his dharma, that he was sitting like this, and that he was doing that intense service simultaneously with, for himself, harnessing all that power, doing that intense service for whole humanity by doing so. I guess your question is answered.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a small thing again?
Yes, sure.
What is so special about Arunachala?
What is so special about Arunachala? It's certainly a place of power. I don't know all the details on all the subtle levels what is going on here. It has been an important place in the past, an important spiritual place in the past. It is now, and I'm sure it's going to be in the future. There is even an Arunachala Purana that tells since time immemorial this was a power place. That the rishis, yogis, Mahatmas have been drawn here doing their tapas here, benefiting from the energy that is there, and by their doing what they are doing, enriching it and making it even more powerful. That's what happened to Ramana. He heard about Arunachala and he was thrown here like a piece of iron to a magnet, benefiting from all that intensity, from the power that is there, and yet through his intense life, enriching it again tremendously. That's as far as I can make a statement. I have no doubt it is a power place. It is a place that supports you. Some people come here and think they can just come here and then relax. And I mean, relaxing is good, but be lazy and not make an attempt for introversion and think then Arunachala is going to do everything. That is not happening. But if we as sadhaks come here and make the attempt, even if we are not aware of it, there is a lot of support to support the spiritual practice, to make it more efficient. And this is going to continue. It's remaining like this. Then people may have all kinds of concepts about it. Arunachala is Shiva. I can agree to that, but then if you think Shiva as the divine essence, everything is Shiva.
Yes.
So honestly, that's as far as I can say. It has been obviously a power place. It has attracted Mahatmas since time immemorial. Yogis have come here doing their sadhana, and it's still doing it, and I'm sure it's going to do that in the future also. And anyone can have their own concepts about Arunachala is this, Arunachala is that. If that concept helps them to open their heart and connect with what is manifested here, it's fine for me. But I'm not getting in the whole discussions, Shiva or not Shiva, or this God or that God, or seat of this God or that God. The divine essence is very strongly manifested here, and that is what counts.
Yes, correct. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Om Namah Shivaya. Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Hi, Werner.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi. I have a very similar question to the one Shridev just asked. Because I remember someone told me once that realization, as Vedanta describes it, it's an experience, but that it's not the final step, so to speak. And then I remember when I asked you about your personal story a few weeks back, you told me that you had been seeking as a sadhak, and that then after realization, you personally had sat also for 7 years. So I was wondering if the sadhana is finished, or is after realization there is still a purification or something that goes on for the being himself.
Just to set something straight, I have never ever made any claim of any realization.
Oh.
There was a certain tremendous shift at a certain time. And when story was finished, the old painful struggling to reach something that was gone. And then I came here, doing again a lot of things that I didn't do before, and mainly settling, letting the new energy, the new perspective settle. And then I went and sat for another 7 years in the same cave. Totally different than before. And my whole attitude had been changed drastically. Previous, I had learned a lot, had read a lot, had heard a lot, and had all these ideas in my head, and at a certain time they all disappeared, including the concept of a final self-realization. You can come to a point where you are not more suffering, where you are not more going in the old habitual stuff, creating tensions in the mind that make you suffer. In the old habitual stuff of resisting lots of the time against the fact of the experience wherever you are, that you just don't do that anymore and see the whole thing just as a divine game. But then it's like one chapter is over, a new chapter starts, and there is a process of a continuous unfolding, and there is no end to it. And like what I said about Ramana, for him it was the most natural thing to intensify that further unfolding process by simply sitting for years in a tremendous way. Not with the idea that he must have a further self-realization. I'm sure for Ramana the whole concept was already gone, even if after that he picked it up again in order to speak to people. Because people have a certain language, so, and he adjusted to the traditional way of talking, then he has picked up a lot of the concepts again that are there traditionally, just to somehow guide people and help people. But what is going on is a process, and there is no end to it. There's not that you can come to a point and say, now I have it all. This is the whole of possibilities. Wherever you are, it's like there is still infinity beyond.
Is there any way you can explain what you mean by this unfolding?
Yes. Although essentially you are what you are, and that essence doesn't really change. In the beginning, we are not aware of that at all, of that essence, and then maybe suddenly we become aware of that essence. But then, like, the experience of that keeps on intensifying, unfolding. Sometimes I say growing, but then people imagine something special, getting bigger. So I have stopped using that word so much, but in a way you can say it's more like going from moment to moment with an intensifying of the experience of peace, the experience of power, the experience of ecstasy of existence. And there's no end to that. Then there may be realms opening or not opening. That's very different. What is happening then is very different from one to another, from one story to another. Eventually everything may gradually open, but some may have a lot of subtle stuff going on very quickly, and others may just go on and on, just being intensely in the timelessness of the now and intensifying that experience, the peace, the power, the ecstasy of it. Anyhow, there's no point in trying to make too many imaginations and then after that put that as a goal and work for that. Just be here now, let go of whatever disturbs your peace and then see what happens.
Yes. Thank you very much for sharing.
You're welcome. I'm seeing Udi. Hello, Udi.
How are you, Werner?
Oh, I'm doing quite fine.
Yeah.
And you?
I'm doing well. And I would like to ask you, everybody experienced the feeling of frustration, disappointment. And even when you are trying to be present in this presence of the event and being quiet, those feelings are usually stay with me longer than other. There is a reason, there is a way to experience that they will disappear or will go away easily?
Easily. Yeah. Well, people are different. Some have more to chew on these feelings. Some have more to chew on other feelings. But you say frustration and what was the other one?
Disappointment.
Disappointment. Right.
Yeah.
And if that is a special issue that happened a lot in the life, then the attachment to those feelings may be stronger than to other feelings. And even if you bring your attention to the present, in the mind you still may keep a certain tension where those feelings can still cling on to. The more you are capable in the present to just relax, the more all those hooks, they are dropping off. But if there are emotions that are more of an issue than others, then they have the tendency to linger longer. Even if you withdraw the attention from dreaming about the past, worrying about the future, just be in the moment. But then if you keep on, you don't need to fight them. You don't need to do something about it. Just be here, be now, and relax. And the more the tension that the mind is still holding disappears, the more then the clinging to this kind of emotions also disappears. They still will be there as long as you are appearing in a human form, in this human world. The whole specter of emotions is there as a possibility. And the circumstances often make one or the other of the emotion pop up. But if we have somehow undone the hook they have in our psyche, then they come, they are a moment there, they go, and they don't leave a trace. If they're hanging on longer than others, then there is more work to do on them. And work to do doesn't mean to try to analyze and doing a lot of analytical stuff. Just see it's there, and then instead of getting overwhelmed and instead of fighting it, just relax, let go as good as you can. And even if they are hanging on strongly, gradually they're getting weaker, and eventually they are as easily dismissed as other emotions.
I don't have the feeling, a bad feeling, that I experienced this frustration and things like that. But it's looked to me that because probably I create to myself as part of my life expectation, then the feeling of disappointment and not fulfilling this expectation is automatically created.
Right.
But then, I cannot.
Sorry.
This is part of, I would say, my nature. And I'm trying to understand how we can disconnect them, how we can separate between them, that there can be expectation and I can feel some frustration, but not let them turning my life as an energy, as a powerful thing.
Right. We have been talking about expectations another time, and already there I said you cannot be totally without an expectation. When you are driving home from your work, you expect that you can get something to eat, and if it's not there, then you may feel a bit. These little expectations, they are not harmful, but we have to learn that with our expectations, that we are not attached to them, that we are not making our well-being dependent on them. And the more you are capable to do that with the expectations, the more the result, when they are not fulfilled, is also just momentary. That you have the expectations for something, you come in the situation, it doesn't happen, there comes a moment of reaction. But it won't even have the time to really become a frustration that troubles you. It's just for a moment there is a reaction and it's already gone. But in order that this can be so detached, then that which brings about the frustration and the disappointment has also been more detached. That the expectations, as they pop up in the mind, in the brain, when you see them, then you can evaluate them. Should I keep it? Should I just dismiss it? And even if you keep it, that, okay, there is a speck of an expectation, but whether it's working out or not working out, it's not important. The more you have that attitude, the less you will feel frustrated and disappointed. And the more we hold on to the idea how things should be, expecting them to be in a certain way, the more after that the reaction will be when they are not.
But the sense that, let's say, good feeling, good experiences, we are very welcoming and want them to stay with us for longer and longer time. And bad energies stay with us even that we try to avoid them.
Right. And that is actually the thing. As long as we are attaching ourselves to the good energies and the pleasant feelings and want to hold on to them, as long as we are doing that, as long as we equally long we are also totally working, trying to avoid the negative ones and then being not happy when they happen. We have to learn to get detached even from those pleasant energies, the pleasant emotions. You said the good emotions, but the good energies. Finally, energy is just energy. And we are labeling them the good and the bad, and the good ones we like and we want to hold on to, and then they go, and then also we feel frustrated. And those we don't like, we call the bad, and we don't want them, and in spite of that they come, and then also we feel frustrated. So that doesn't mean you should not enjoy a nice moment, but you can enjoy detached, relaxed, just being happy it's there, and when it's fading, not try to hold on a little longer, no, just a little longer, but okay, it was nice, it was there, it comes, it goes, like everything is changing all the time in manifestation. We can't help it, it's just going on. So detach also from that hooking into the good energies, in the good experiences. Let them come, enjoy them when they are there, and let them go. Don't try to hold on to. The same thing, you can have your ideas of experiences you don't want, so we can avoid them if it's possible, but in spite of that, so many times they come. And then instead of blocking and no, 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 okay, accept them. All right, that's what's happening. It's not exactly what I choose, not exactly what I like, but so what? It comes, it's there a moment, it goes. No big deal if we don't make a big deal. The more you deal with the positive and the negative in that way, the less you will feel frustrated. Little moments it may pop up that the emotion, like all the emotions, may pop up for a moment, but if you're not hooking in, they come, they go, they are like ripples on the water. They come, they go, they don't leave a trace.
I had the feeling that one of the very primary or primitive reflex of us is grasping and holding. And it's remained with us. That everything that we experience around, we try to grasp it, we try to hold it as a reflex almost.
Right, but actually we learn that a lot. A baby will grasp, but then the mind, the vision goes to another thing, drops it, and totally forgotten already, runs after the next thing. But then while growing up, we learn what is valuable, what should be held on to in order to make your life secure, in order to make your life rich, in order to become a good citizen, in order to, we learning actually to hold on to. A baby holds on for a moment, and then the ideas change. Pop, it's gone, forgotten. Something else wants to hold on, wants to take. Right, that reflex is there for a moment to hold on to, but also that keeping thing, that's something that we are actually learning while growing up, and after that it's so habitual, so usual, that we think this is the natural way of existing. But it's only actually habitual, because most of the people, whole humanity, functions more or less like that, grabbing and then holding on to. And we can learn on a material level to some extent hold on to certain things, but mentally get detached. It's not that we have to, in order to find freedom, like some sadhus, just they walk away from their surroundings and they don't have any possessions and hold on to nothing. That's just one way of learning to really let go. What matters is that we let go of the attachment in the mind, and this attachment goes when we become aware that our happiness, our well-being is not dependent on all that stuff that we are holding on to. Neither material, neither emotional, neither intellectual.
Thank you so much for making it clear.
You are welcome. It's something that we just, it comes, it goes, we have to work on it, but if that clarity is there, when it comes, you can see it in another light, and at least attempt to relax, to let go. How much you are successful then in the moment doesn't really lay in your hands, but whether you make the attempt or not, that does lay in your hands. And the more you do make that conscious attempt, the easier it becomes. And
Thank
then
you so much.
Eventually there comes a point that everything that seemed to be quite difficult becomes so simple and easy. Anyhow,
Thank you.
I know you now, I think 2 years, 2.5 years about.
Yeah.
You have covered quite a way since then. go on like this. You are doing fine.
Thank you very much.
Hariom, Hariom.
How are you?
Hello, Werner.
Hello. I hear the voice. I don't see a picture.
Maya.
Ah, now I see you. Hello, Maya.
Hi, how are you?
Quite fine. And you?
Quite fine and good. Very
Yeah,
good.
good. Very good.
I have a question about, I try to explain myself. There is this awareness, this witnessing that happens all the time. And it's there always.
Yes.
It's like the background to everything that happens. It's the source for everything that comes and goes. And it's very quiet and very pleasant. There is just a pleasure, quiet pleasure of existence. And at first there was like jumping from a sense of personality to a sense of presence. Like I remembered and the personality faded away, just dropped, and I came back to the source of this quietness and this pleasure. And now they are going together. I mean, there is a sense of presence and quiet and this witnessing that happens. And the personality can come up inside of it, make her strong or less strong, but make her show and fade away.
Yes.
I don't need to be or this or this. They are together. There is like a background and the show that's coming on. In the last day, I noticed that the sense of personality becomes very subtle, like hiding, like there. I didn't notice it before. Like he said, you are this witnessing. You are the witness.
Right.
And I'm going with this new sense of personality,
Yes.
very subtle one, like hiding and making himself the background.
Yes.
This is very subtle, and I wanted to hear from you about it. You know what I mean?
Right. That is the tendency when somebody talks about witnessing, then actually you are creating a witness, somebody who is witnessing the whole rest, what is happening. And so we have created again a personality, the witness personality. Then somehow, if we keep up that, then we have to create a witness who is witnessing the witness. And then a witness who is witnessing the witness of the witness. No, it's natural. Everybody does that. Creating that witness when one focus on witnessing. But then when you become aware, this is happening, then just be aware of it. And then in that awareness, it dawns that witnessing is happening no matter whether we have created that idea of the one who is witnessing or not. That there is just that pure awareness witnessing this whole story without personal investment, without somehow trying to squeeze out personal advantage out of it, just being aware of. So actually that you become aware that this is happening, that's enough. Just be alert of that. The old habit of creating that me personality is so strong, it will always try to sneaking a little subtler. Then we become aware of it and can observe it, work on it, let that go, and then the tendency is sneaking in again a little subtler. That's how it goes. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's just when you become aware of that, what you have described. Keep that alertness, and when you see what is happening, just keep that watching that also. And then that also has to go again. And then it may come back and in an even more subtle way sneak in again. But then if you keep up with it, then you become aware of that also, and you can again just observe that also, and then that also will start to dissolve. That's how it goes.
Is it ever fading away, this sense of personality?
There is
Look
a sense of presence that is unique, and that there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But then when we talk about the person, then most of the time we talk about the person in context with the whole rest and being something separate, something special. And that is there as a speck as long as you're active most of the time, but it can become so subtle that it doesn't disturb that awareness that actually there is no separation, that everything is connected. But as long as we are appearing, playing human in this crazy world, a speck of it will be there, but it can become so unsubstantial that it cannot more bind. Ramana used the metaphor that it's becoming like a burned rope. It still has the form of the rope, but it's not more able to bind you. But the speck is still there. Or Sri Ramakrishna said it's that he used another metaphor. It's like a line you draw on the water. It's there for a moment, but the next moment it's disappeared and there's only water there. So a speck of it will be there, but not a binding speck.
Yeah, I can feel it. I can feel that the sense of personality, like losing his power, is there, but okay, it's there and it's gone.
Yes. And yet there is a sense of presence which is connected with all there is and yet has its own totally unique flavor. But that is not the personality, that is that unique being that you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. That unique being has its uniqueness and at the same time is connected with everything. Is all one and yet something unique in that all oneness. And that we don't have to try to get rid of. It can't be done also. It need not be done.
Thank you, Werner. Thank you for everything.
You're welcome. Continue like this. Go on, go on, go on. Hari Om, Hari Om. there anybody else who would like to talk? There is one friend from Berlin. He has written to me, he may ask me in the Satsang a question. Andreas, are you here? It doesn't seem to be the case, but the question was about, yes, there he is. Hello. Do you want to say something about your question, or shall I just start to answer what you asked, what you wrote me? You are still muted. Now you're still muted. Shall I just answer, or do you want to add something to the question you wrote? Yes.
Hello, I just was, nobody's asking something. I just was coming in now because I first had to install the Zoom.
I see.
Yeah. It was like the Atmanishta and Manonishta and Manolaya by Ramana. Huh?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
You want me to comment on that? Okay.
Yes.
Just for those who don't understand the words, Manolaya and Manonishta. Mano is the mind, manas. And then in the Sanskrit Sandhi rule it becomes Manolaya. Means that the mind disappears. And in Manonishta also that the mind disappears. So what is the difference between the two? The Manolaya is a temporary state. We can bring about a Manolaya for some time by certain practices, by certain pranayamas. Somebody who is regularly doing pranayama may be capable through the pranayama come to a state where the mind stops and is really absent, but it's there just as a potential to start all over again as soon as that moment is over. It may also start to happen spontaneously for a practitioner, for anyone who has practiced for some time, has had this experience that maybe in meditation it was not very quiet, it was maybe very agitated, but then suddenly in the midst of the activity, boom, it's becoming quiet. Without you doing something. And then it starts again, and there we go again, and are in the struggle again. Yes and no, and no, and yes, and yesterday and tomorrow. These silences we can call mano layam. This is a temporary state. The mind is still there in its usual potential. It's somehow quietened by a moment of grace, by a certain specific practice, temporary, but then we come back and the old habits take over again and have the tendency to be overwhelming. Now, Manonishta means actually that the mind disappears. And what does that mean? The fact is, there is never really such a thing as a mind. It's not that we have somewhere, built in somewhere in our psychophysical manifestation, an organ called the mind. And we somehow struggle and struggle to find that, and then after that somehow kill it or quieten it. There is just that capacity to turn consciousness into reasonable thoughts. And actually that capacity is something very beautiful. That's the creativity in the human experience, that we have that capacity to turn consciousness into something beautiful, into thoughts, into expressions of the self. But it should be a tool. If we were in a natural state, it would be a tool that we pick up when it's appropriate, when it's necessary, and then put it aside when it's not necessary. And unfortunately, we have grown up and learned to use that tool all the time, compulsory. And once it's there, that compulsion, it seems to be so impossible and difficult to stop it. While it should be a tool that we just pick up to use where it's appropriate and then put it aside again. And mano nasha means that compulsion to think all the time is gone. That the attention is sunk so deep into your own resources that that compulsion simply disappears. And then you can think when you want to think, and then when you don't want to think, then you don't think. Whereas with Manolaya, you may have a respite. For some time it's peaceful, wonderful. Now, in the modern teaching, some people, they are very negative about this brought about peace, about the Manon lion. In the modern neo-Advaitic teachings, that this is all useless, you bring it about by pranayamas and stuff, but what they are not understanding is that if one learns to sometimes dive into that manolayam, when that mind is quiet, even if the whole potential is there to start with its strong vengeance again, then that moment of peace is purifying, and it's already starting to loosen up gradually.
Yes, yes.
The power
That's also
of it.
my...
Yeah. So it's very useful to come back to that peaceful moment as good as one can, even if we use the help of certain specific practices. And then gradually this becomes easier and easier, and eventually it's not something that we can do, but it's more like we have to make ourselves available, and we make ourselves available to come to that manolayam again and again, as good as we can. And then eventually it's mano nasham that is happening, that compulsion simply goes. And then the struggle is done. The experience is not finished. From there is still infinity to go.
Yeah, I think also even is there is this mano nasha, even that you can lose. Because I understand it like this, as you say, if you have a lot of first you need a lot of laya. Without that, I mean, and then there is a in the nasha a fundamental change in the subject.
Yeah.
Like a Christian mystic, I think it's not about like you love Jesus. It's like to be loved from Jesus. Yeah, okay, a little bit like this, so that there's really a fundamental change, but completely, in a way destroys it. Yeah, the consciousness. Yeah, that this falls away.
Right. But actually, what is being destroyed is simply what we have falsely build up, that created that compulsion that everybody is such a slave of, that the mind has become the boss instead of a tool that we are using when it's appropriate. Yes. And when that, what nasha means, that that compulsion goes. You say that also can be lost. Okay, actually, theoretically, you're right. If one sort of dive into that, and then is grossly misconducting, then somehow the old may be still strong enough to take over again. But if you really go deep, then that compulsion simply goes.
Yes, 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 yes.
In that context, I can quote something I remember from Ramana. Somebody asked Ramana Maharshi, but Bhagavan, are you still thinking? and Ramana said, well, usually I'm not having any thoughts. And then the person said, but then I see you talking to people. And when you talk to people, you must be thinking something. And then Ramana said, yes, of course. When I'm talking to people, then I'm thinking. But yes, usually I'm not having thoughts. And then the person was still not satisfied and said, but then I see you reading a book. And when you read, you must be thinking something. And Ramana said, oh, yes, of course. When I'm reading, then I'm thinking. But usually I'm not having thoughts. That state of mano nasha, that it can be used where it's appropriate, and then just think back. And it will, that compulsion may go, but then still there may be quite often thoughts going on, but still it's different than before, because usually in people's mind they have no idea how much what they're thinking. If you stop somebody on the road and ask them, now for 5 minutes, just tell me every thought that goes through your brain, there's not really much reason there. It's not like a nice line of thoughts that one is building on. It's boom, 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 boom. It's crazy what's going on in a mind. And that compulsion to go with that can go, but still that habit of thinking more can be there, but those thoughts are becoming different. They are coming, building up one after the other, and if you have enough of it and think enough of that, then you can just drop it, and it's not compulsively going on again and again, turning over the same subject. We can't do that, but what we can is work on quietening the mind. And then sometimes that manolayam is happening. It's an inspiration, it's an encouragement, it's an experience. It comes, it has some time, and it goes. And then the usual mechanism is there again, and yet it's still weakening. Every time such an experience is there, it's loosening up a little bit of the old strength of the compulsion. So it's perfectly valid, whatever some modern teachings say, it's perfectly valid to practice and gradually get quieter and gradually get quieter, because in that way the old habitual compulsion is loosening up, and we making ourselves available that something can happen that we cannot do, that we cannot, like you said, quoted there, that Jesus starts to love you. You cannot do that, but you can make yourself available.
Yeah, I think this is sometimes the danger, or in my own praxis, it was often so that if you become very skillful entering some higher states, of course you need like somebody to go there, huh? Like, and so you it's what's the name, Flucht, huh? Flucht
escape.
or
Escape.
Escape. It's a quite good tool to escape, and not to put the dhyana or maybe your spiritual practice in that direction. That even also the laya states like becoming so much integrated that this nishta can happen. Let's put it this way. So thank you. It was quite good.
You're welcome. Hariom, Hariom.
Hariom.
Is there anybody else?
No.
Oh, you have something else?
No. Yes, but maybe later or.
So then I'm asking people to turn their camera and their microphone off. Then also the camera, because it's taking, if everybody has the camera on, then it's taking a lot of information and my connection is not so wonderful. Hello.
Right.
Irmgard, are you going to ask me something in English?
Ja, ist schwierig. Aber ich verstehe schon, was es geht.
Ja.
Aber es ist einfach so schön, dir zuzuhören. Ja, Englisch ist schwierig.
Ich fange jetzt dann gerade wieder an Englisch zu reden. Du bist gar nicht reingekommen, weil du etwas hast fragen.
Nein,
ist das mehr ein Unfall gewesen? Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Okay, then I will talk about the discussion I had this week. Of course, the one thing that is rattling people's mind around the globe right now is still the COVID virus. And I said to somebody, okay, maybe there were negative forces that brought that virus in circulation. Maybe it was man-made, maybe it was on purpose with negative intentions, but it has totally backfired. There's something very positive happening now because of that. It's like whatever force brought that into the space of this world has not counted that, like the opposite force, the forces of light can pick it up and actually make something useful out of it. There is really something energetically changing, which is a potential possibility that something, a society broader and more harmonious could grow out of that. It depends ultimately then still each and everyone, humanity as a whole. But then when I was talking like this, that other person said, yes, but we can talk like this because we can buy food, but all these people who are suffering, it's terrible, they are hungry. And of course, many people, they have a very hard time. Nevertheless, I mean, I'm encouraging everyone who feels like donating to those organizations who are feeding people who have little to eat because of this situation. I'm encouraging that. But there is no need of worrying about that. What people don't understand if we feel bad about the situation, if we worry about it, then we just bring again negativity into the circulation. But that person said to me, but this world is still ruled by Rakshasas. Rakshasas are demons. This world is still in the grip of demons. But Of course, these negative forces are there, but the positive forces are also there. But if we think like this, the world is ruled by demons. If we worry about it, then we actually are contributing, we are strengthening that dark force that we basically don't want. We are, with our negativity, with our negative perception, we are reinforcing whatever we are criticizing. However noble it seems, by all means, be charitable and help where you feel it's your duty to help. But don't spend your time worrying about what is happening, worrying about how people are doing. Actually, even here in India, people are a lot supported. I mean, no denying, many people have great problems because of the situation. But there, the state I was amazed how much the state was engaging to support people, to support little businesses in the time when they had to close down, to pay them something. And then there are all those organizations. By all means, whoever feels like supporting, support financially. But don't let the mind be pulled into that mood. Oh, it's so bad a situation and people are so suffering, and then be all negative about it and see only darkness in the world. The more we are perceiving like this, the more we are seeing like this, the more we are feeling like this, the more we are talking like this, the more we are supporting exactly that which we are criticizing. The negative forces, the dark forces, the demoniac forces. So by all means, bring the attention back to your own divine beauty. You don't help anyone by putting yourself in a bad mood and feel all gloomy about what is happening. On the other hand, if you bring your attention back to yourself, to the present, to that beauty of existence in the now, and start to taste more and more the joyousness of it and let it radiate, let it flow out of you, then actually you are inviting the forces of light to become stronger and stronger, and you are contributing that the world can change. There's no point in holding on to the darkness and say it's terrible, it's terrible. Okay, there are dark forces there, they are still very active, but you bring your attention back to yourself, to the present, to the now. Be immersed in that as good as you can, and then invariably, automatically, you will start to see the world in such a different way. Where you may have seen before, there is only darkness, you will see that there is light everywhere. There is that beauty everywhere. And the more you connect with that, the more you open your heart. And the more you open your heart, the more you radiate something. Something beautiful flows through you that is supporting the world, that is supporting the possibility that something very beautiful can grow out of this. So I'm encouraging everybody, don't, in the name of being realist and for the sake to be solidary with those who have a hard time, let yourself be pulled into a negative state. You're not helping anyone, you're just making the situation worse. Yes, there are people in a hard situation. There were always, not only because of this virus that is there. If you are in a position, if you feel that's your duty, by all means, help financially. But your real help is that you are bringing your attention back to yourself and make peace with yourself and be in harmony with yourself. And then more and more you're in harmony with the whole universe and radiating that. And that is the greatest contribution you possibly can make. You are the first benefiting, getting the benefit of it, because it makes you happy, it makes you joyous, it makes you creative, it makes your life beautiful. But you are also encouraging and supporting everybody else. It's the greatest contribution you can make to humanity. It just inspired me to talk about it because I had this discussion a few days ago. Is there anybody who would like to come in? Please come in.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Nelly. We have been waiting for you.
I'm happy to see you again. It's very important what you said before this. I mean this. I mean what you told just now.
Just now.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. It's very important for me. I want to share something. I feel some joy and happy because my relationship with my daughter is improved last time, and it's so important for me. I told you some years ago that I had a lot of difficulties with her, and we had a lot of struggle. You hear me?
Yeah. There just came a message in from Karina. Thank you. Anyhow,
okay.
don't get distracted by putting on the glasses.
Okay.
You told me a few years ago that it was a difficult chapter in your life.
Yes, and I had difficult relationship with my daughter. It was very long time. Yes, a lot of struggles and misunderstandings, and we are very difficult, very differ with her, and a lot of problems we had. But slowly everything improved. It began improving, yes, little by little. It's getting better and better. And now I feel connection with her that I didn't feel before. And it's so valuable for me, so important, so it's so beautiful. It's like it's like I didn't feel some part of myself, and didn't feel some connection with some part of myself, and now I began feel it, and it's so beautiful, and I'm very happy to feel it.
Good.
Yesterday we met and had a good time together, and it was so wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. Yes, it's very important.
I'm very happy to hear. Now, in the beginning, you somehow brought this in context with what I have just said before. Is there something you want me to comment on? I didn't get that.
What was before?
What I just said before you came in, you said this is very important in context with your daughter. Or did I misunderstand that?
I mean that maybe not. Maybe it's not connection, but I liked what you told. That it's important. I mean that in spite of any problems that we have, don't worry about them. That you
right.
because we make it more bad worse when we when we hold it in our mind, that keep it in our mind.
Yes, right.
I see it in myself, because if I relax, that everything becomes better and easier. And in my experience with my daughter, for example, I see tension and I in the expectations, and I thought, and in some patterns, I thought that this is right, and it should be done like this, and it's best, and so on. But she didn't hear me, and she wanted to have her way, but her way was so dangerous for me, and so I didn't understand it, and I was had a lot of worries and troubles, and so I just had to learn to accept her what she is, like she is. I had to learn to accept her, and it was difficult for me, but it forced me to change myself, to meditate, to learn to open myself to accept her like she is, and it's a good school for me. Good teaching.
Right, good teaching. But
yeah.
It's great that you see that, and I'm very happy to hear that that relationship has changed so much, that you have a nice connection basically. But along with that, the tendency will be there then, if you connect more, that you quicker worry. That the motherly worries will come quicker, easier. And it's good that you check yourself. That right, there is the context, and with what I told before, that if you connect with somebody, anybody, and then you have worries, then you send them energies that they are absolutely not helpful and not creative, and make their life more dangerous. And especially somebody that is so close, even if one has not a special relationship, there is a special energetic connection between parents and children that can't be helped. It is like that. And if a parent is worrying all the time about their children, about their daughter, about their son, then actually they are sending energies that are making the life more difficult for the children. So it's great that you see that now that you have more of a connection, you have to check yourself that you don't start to worry. But you leave, when you connect, when the daughter is open and wants to have your opinion, you can always give your opinion, what you think is, what is helpful, what is good, what is right. At the same time, it's her life and she has to live it. And the best you can do for her is to connect with her. And even if you think, ooh, it's dangerous where it's going, you connect with yourself here now and make peace in yourself and relax in that. And then something very beautiful from you will flow over to your daughter that will make her life easier, that will help her to be more constructive, and may even in a dangerous situation help her to protect her.
Yes, that is.
It's always ourselves we have to work on, not the others.
Yes, 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 that's right. Exactly, yeah.
even if they are close, even if we love them, even if we think it's something is not right what they are doing, we can tell them, but finally the work is always make order in our own mind about the situation and radiate something beautiful and creative instead of something destructive.
Yes, that's right. And our connection is better, and I feel that I feel myself more confident in our relationship. And
yeah,
yes, and that I heard that fear is a lack of love, and when love grows, fear becomes little.
I mean, you cannot strictly say it exactly like this and make it like a mathematical thing. But the more you love, the more there is also growing a trust in yourself and trust in a cosmic trust that somehow things are turning out okay. The more you are trusting like this, the more you bring something positive and creative into the picture. That's the most helpful influence, no doubt about. Love and trust, and not worry and fear.
Okay, thank you very much, Werner.
You're welcome. You know, because you become more peaceful with yourself, then naturally it's also easier to make peaceful relations, even relationships that were not very peaceful before. So that's great. Make peace, continue make peace in your own mind. Be in harmony here now. And the more you do that, the more that is there, the more naturally it will also happen with those you're connected with. The easier it becomes. And that is great that it's manifesting now, that relationship which was very, very difficult before has become nice between the two of you.
Thank you very much.
Continue like this. You are on a good way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is there somebody else who would like to come in? Well, if it is not the case, then let us stop the satsang for today. Yes, it seems so. Then I'm going to stop the recording. Where is it here?